Nancy Drew is now inappropriate for minors, according to the Hamilton County Library Board in Indiana, and so are the American Girl Mysteries. We're going to be talking about Molly in a little bit. I have been planning to make a library video talking about everything going on in the country regarding libraries right now, and my video, my bullet point script is so long that I've decided to make it a series of videos. And then this news article came across my feed and I was like, I just want to talk about this. So I'm talking today particularly about the Hamilton County Library in Indiana and their policy of what is age appropriate. And I'll have more videos of this insanity to come, so if that's your thing, subscribe. And if not, you can just watch this video. I will have links to everything I talk about here today in the description. And let's find out what the Hamilton County School, no, it's not a school, this is a public library. The Hamilton County Public Library Board is up to right now. I'm going to first read the article from IndyStar.com, and then I am going to read the actual policy the library has, and I'm going to reference a bill, but it's not really relevant to this, but I will also have that linked in the description. I'll be looking over here because this is where my laptop is, where I am reading this from. So the headline of this article is Teen Shelves Half Empty at Hamilton East as Library Conducts $300,000 Board Pushed Book Review. And yeah, this is what all it entails. The shelves of the teen zone, the young adult section of Hamilton East Public Library, are mostly empty. It's a jarring scene for a library whose shelves typically offer seemingly endless reading materials from which to choose. But the Hamilton East Public Library in Noblesville, almost vacant shelves greet borrowers in the teen section due to an extensive review process ordered by the library's Board of Trustees. The review, which is currently underway, requires librarians and staff to examine thousands of books over the course of the next few months and expected to cost the library system, serving Fishers and Noblesville upwards of $300,000. So Fishers and Noblesville, I believe, are the two towns that have libraries in Hamilton County. And yeah, I don't know. This is interesting. The policy, which the board passed in December, moves materials deemed not age appropriate to the system's adult sections in the Noblesville and Fisher libraries. I did look back at December stuff because that is when this policy was initially passed, and there were people at the board meeting speaking against the policy, and the board trustees passed the policy anyway. Why it is coming up again is because they have clarified the policy, and they've put very specific things that are not allowed in books for minors. So those very specific things are the things that I want to talk about, but we will get to that in a little bit. The decision is gaining momentum and attention now due to the board's definition of what is age appropriate for the teen sections as the library staff seeks more clarification about the policy's reach. Other libraries may soon be conducting similar reviews. Earlier this week, state lawmakers passed a bill that would classify harmful to minors in school libraries as the same category as obscene materials. School librarians deemed non-compliant could face felony charges. That is the bill that I was referring to. I did look it up. It is only pertaining to school libraries, and I'm not getting into school libraries right now. We're just talking about public libraries. So I think they threw that in there just to make that connection, but we're just going to talk about the public library side tonight. During the heated meeting of the East Hamilton Library Board Thursday night in Noblesville, the board updated the policy to now include a list of profanities and a list of criminal acts that would deem a book inappropriate for young readers. At times, board members who are appointed by elected officials suggested library staff were not in compliance with the policy or had refused to work fast enough to complete the revisions. Library leaders said all employees were reviewing materials in addition to their regular duties. Then it talks about some of the books that are gone from the teen section. I'm going to skip over that. The HEPL, which is the Hamilton East Public Library policy impacts more than 18,000 books and more than 11,000 item records. Board members proposed that the end of last year to reiterate that parents are the ultimate decision makers for the children and patrons under 18 years of age. And that is in the actual policy. Like, it literally says parents are the ultimate decision makers, but then it goes into this whole list of if these things are in books, it cannot be in the children's section and has to be in the adult section. And there are books like Molly over here that would have to be in the adult section because of this policy, but they're retaining that parents are the ultimate decision makers. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but we're moving on. In March, library staff shared cost estimates for carrying out the review. So far, staff have reviewed about 1,000 books this year. Board member Ray Madalone asked why the staff had not reviewed more items and scoffed at the idea of members reading from home, calling it terribly inefficient. Why aren't they just standing by the shelves reading books? Madalone said. I don't understand why this board member is like, why aren't they just standing by the shelves reading books? Whenever some of these books, you have to read the whole thing to know what is in them, or you're going to have to skim the entire book cover to cover to know what is in it. And they should just be standing by the shelves doing that for hours. They could take a pile of books home and do it at home. I don't see how that's inefficient. Oh my gosh. Library staff estimate more than half of the books in the teen section will have to be moved to the adult section. This means shelving and furniture will need to be moved and rearranged. The rearrangement of books and review will require at least 8,000 hours of labor. In most cases, reading books cover to cover is required to place them in the policy designated areas. See, oh my gosh. During the board meeting, dozens of public speakers shared their opposition to the policy, and none spoke in favor. And this is just what I said previously. This is the same thing I saw when the policy was originally passed in December, is there were people at the board meeting saying, this is not a good policy, and the Board of Trustees passed it anyway. Now, I'm pretty sure the Board of Trustees is elected, so, I mean, vote in your library board elections, I guess.
Editing Rebecca jumping in to say that the board is selected by elected officials. So vote in your local elections because those are the people selecting who sits on the library board.
One of the parents said, as a parent, I believe it is my responsibility to watch out for my children, not to have other people watch out for my children. I don't know why other people think they need to help me with my child's education. Which, yeah, I mean, the board literally said, the parents are the ultimate decision makers for their child, but also we have this whole policy of what we can and can't have in the books, including, so this goes on to say, two other mothers said that removing books containing depictions of criminal acts would censor what their child can read. It would include children's mysteries, such as The Rescuers, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and The Outsiders, which is a very good point. And that's also why Molly is going to be on the list, because guess what Molly has in it? It has a robbery in it. That's literally the mystery she's trying to solve. But you can't have that in children's books anymore at this library. So I'm going to stop there and jump over to the actual policy and read out what the actual policy says in regards to this. And let me find the page again, because there's two sections of the policy I want to read. So it starts with materials in the juvenile, youth, middle school, and high school sections should be age appropriate. Age appropriateness considerations include nudity, alcohol, drug use, repeated use of profanity, depictions or incitement to violence, and sexual contact. Materials containing pictorial descriptions of nudity, and it goes on this whole thing about pictorial descriptions. Now we're going to do written materials containing explicit descriptions of sexual content, including, and it has a whole list of what it includes, will not be shelved in the juvenile, youth, middle school, and high school sections. Profanity under this policy means repeated use of terms that are grossly offensive as defined by the Federal Communications for purpose of broadcast television, which can be found online, and it gives the site where you can find that online, a non-exhaustive list of words and phrases that violate this standard, including their derivatives, is attached in Appendix A, which we will get to in a little bit. And violence under this policy means purposeful conduct that injures the body or property of another in a manner that would be a crime under Indiana law, or incitement to another to engage in purposeful conduct that injures the person or property of another that would be a crime under Indiana law. A non-exhaustive list is attached Appendix B. So this is like the actual policy, okay? Now look, I'm not going to read out all of the words, but I can put that on the screen here if you want to see the list of words that are, if repeated uses of them occur in a book, they have to be removed, which again, this might involve reading the book cover to cover in order to see if repeated uses of the word are used. I especially expect this in young adult books. I don't expect these to occur very much in like children's books. But let's move on to the violent crimes. Violent crimes include murder, homicide, rape, sexual assault, battery, kidnapping, robbery, arson, child abuse, human trafficking, rioting, or terrorism. Here's the thing. The Molly book is not encouraging robbery, okay? The mystery is literally to solve who is doing the robbing, okay? I feel like pretty much every middle school children's mystery book, every young adult mystery book, Nancy Drew, Hardy Boys, Boxcar Children, Encyclopedia Brown, Can You Solve the Mysteries? I don't even know what all the current mystery books are that kids read, but Molly here, they're not allowed in this library anymore. They have to be in the adult section. Kids can't read them, even if they are age appropriate for kids. Like, these books are not encouraging these things. I read a ton of mystery books growing up. That was actually my primary genre that I wrote. Well, that and historical fiction. But, like, I also liked the combined historical mysteries as seen in Molly here. And I read so many of these, and I did not grow up and become a kidnapper or an arsonist or a thief. Like, I don't understand. It's not like kids don't know these things exist. Back to the article, I think there was one parent at the end who said something. She said, no one is saying these are good things or that having these books on the shelves are promoting them. In a story sense, there are evils to be faced, and I want my kids to see examples of evils being faced down, and I want to see them and I want them to see it in a book. Which is exactly what I've been saying. Just because these things are in books doesn't mean the book is promoting it. In fact, the book could be doing the opposite of that. And we're saying because these things are in a book, then we need to remove the book from the children's section because it's not age appropriate for them. I will give the Hamilton East Public Library Board of Trustees 1 point in their favor, and that is in their definition of sexual acts, it did not include homosexuality. So having a homosexual couple in a book and there's no sex described in that book, it is perfectly fine to stay in the section that it's already in. That is a lot better than a lot of these other policies or bills or things that I've been seeing lately, because most of them do discriminate and say if there are LGBTQIA plus characters, it's automatically pornographic. So, good job, Board of Trustees, for not being as crappy as you could have been. That's not saying much, is it? Oh my gosh. The other thing I was thinking of with this list, like, if we're gonna say violence, we probably have to talk about, like, all the fantasy children books. Like, Ranger's Apprentice is probably, this is not suitable for minors. It's been a long time since I've read Percy Jackson, but I'm pretty sure, like, there's definitely deaths, and I think some possibly directly murders going on in there. I think that might not be appropriate for children, according to this. I know the Wings of Fire books wouldn't, except that also happens like during war. So the Wings of Fire, there's like this war between these dragon factions going on. So does violence that occurs like during war not count as like criminal under Indiana law? I don't know what exactly they're getting at here. This is a public library, you guys. Like, if I was walking into my public library, pretty much most of the books I was reading as a young person would be in the adult section, according to this policy. Especially since I read a lot of mystery books as a kid. I mean, I think most of the American Girl books, probably not Felicity. I think there's Robbery and Felicity. Is it Felicity? I think there is in Caroline too. Some of the American Girl books might be safe to stay in the children's section, but so many of the books that I read growing up would be in the adult section. Which means we're going to have like parents taking their kids to the adult section to get these books, which means we're going to be exposing kids to all the rest of the books that are in the adult section, which is what they're trying to prevent with this. They're trying to prevent children from seeing things they shouldn't be seeing or reading books that they shouldn't be reading. But that's literally what this is going to happen, because like parents are probably going to go ahead and check these books out for their kids anyway. So I feel like this is pointless and this is stupid. At least they aren't completely removing the books from the library. That's also another point for them. They're not completely removing the books from the public library. They're only moving them to the adult section. I just think their violence policy in particular is overreaching. But here we are. Let me know what you thought of this. I know this is just like rambly. I just saw this and I'm kind of upset. And I'm like, I'm gonna make a video, but I'm gonna have much more like detailed thoughts about like the nuances that go into these policies and all of that stuff in upcoming videos. And yeah, hope to see you then. Bye.